Hello, it's Jack Tutor here of Attention Magazine. Welcome to Crucial Listening, the podcast where I speak with experimental musicians and sound artists about 3 albums that are important to them. My guest this time is Alexandra Grunholz, who is behind the project We Will Fail from Poland. Alexandra makes incredibly intense, beautifully crafted electronic music that uses rhythm in a way which sometimes compels you to move, but other times just makes you feel agitated for being still. There's such an incredible atmosphere to her music. A lot of tension and restraint. In 2016, she released a double album called Hand That Heals, Hand That Bites. And this year, she's starting a brand new record label with Jakub of Monotype Records. And it's what they call a slow record label. So the idea being that they release fewer releases, spread further apart, as a means of intensifying the engagement with each individual release. So the first 2 releases on the label are actually releases by We Will Fail, 2 EPs containing new material and remixes by artists such as Zier, Kangding Ray, and there's also tracks by Mesh and Iomak as well. They sound incredible, and it's nice to have just a little package of 4 tracks to focus on, rather than a great sprawling work that you get lost in. Although obviously Alexandra excels in both formats. That double album is wicked. So if you want to find out more about We Will Fail, you can go to wewill.fail. That's the web address. And for more about Refined Productions, which is her new label with Jakub, you can go to refined.productions. A couple of wicked URLs right there. So without further ado, here's We Will Fail on Crucial Listening.
I and Jakub Mikołajczyk, who runs Monotype Records label in Poland, we decided that we should do something new and something with a fresh start, and we decided to make a new label with a new approach to release not a lot of things, but things that we will have a big focus on, that we will take care properly, that we will put a lot of effort to them to be something nice and worth time of a listener. So yeah, we are working on that since beginning of the last year, and we had a lot of preparations, and now it looks like it's going to start. Yeah, we are starting with 2 EPs with remixes of my tracks. We invited some interesting artists to that, and we asked them to do something they would be really glad about, and not to have any boundaries on that,
Yeah.
And so now it's coming alive, and it's really exciting. So when you work on something so long and finally it's happening, it's a really nice moment.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen you talk about the fact that this is a slow label, which I guess is evident in the fact that you have been working on it for, what sounds like a year.
I think it will stay like that because we don't want to release a lot of things. We just wanted everything to be something that you really want to give your focus on that, and take time to get to know the material, the music, and want to be with it and listen to it a lot of times. So, yeah.
What is it that's sparked this desire to approach releasing music in this way? Because it sounds to me, reading about the direction you're taking with the label, that maybe it's in dialogue with an alternative way of releasing or thinking about releasing music. Is there, I don't know, is it based on a particular set of thoughts about how we listen to music now?
Yes, it is, yeah, because there are so many releases each year, and I don't know, most of the time you just listen for a track or two from the album and you don't have time to listen to the rest of it, and you don't give your attention to music because it's so much music released nowadays, so, and everything is screaming for your attention. We just wanted to do something a bit opposed for that.
Is that present in the way the releases are presented, beyond the time between putting out releases and the time you're dedicating to each one? I mean, are there ways in which the presentation of each of these records lends itself to that idea of, I guess, cherishing the listening experience more?
I think, yes. For example, these 2 EPs, we could release it on the one album, but we thought that if we divide this material to two releases, it can give more focus to each of the tracks, because each track is really different and it has a different approach. And when you have something, when you have less to consume on the one time, you can give it more focus. So we thought that not giving everything on the start would be nice, like you have time to taste what you hear. So this was the idea of these 2 releases, and it will lead for something later this year, but yeah, we'll see.
I mean, particularly looking at the remixes that you've got on these 2 releases, I know that my personal experiences with someone like Kang Ding Ray or Zaire, I've needed a lot of time just to understand what's going on in the smallest amounts of time, and have enjoyed mining very small durations for a lot of detail. So I mean, what was it like getting the remixes back, just sending your material out and then getting it back from these people? I mean, did you have any expectations, or what was it like?
I was really curious, and I was really amazed from the effect, because for example, something that you did was I thought, wow, it sounds better than the original track. It's so nice. It's so like she just took all the potential that the track had and changed it in something really, really nice.
Wow.
So, for example, and this Iomak remix, for when I listened to it for the first time, I didn't recognize my track in it, and it was also so nice because it showed me how people listen to that material. So it was really exciting. Yeah, and I really like because each track is really different and it shows a little bit different aspect of the track. So yeah. I'm really happy with that. What can I say?
Yeah. Well, that's fantastic. I'm really looking forward to seeing how this label manifests after all your hard work. And it feels relevant to be talking about the endurance of listening, given that we're talking about 3 albums that have an importance to you as well. Generally, when I ask people to assemble a list of 3 albums to talk about, I like to ask about the way that they thought about the term important, because people seem to think about the idea of importance with regards to listening in so many different ways. People have answered or thought about it clearly as in the terms of what music has made an impression on them as musicians, or what it's done to the way they think about music generally and the way they think about what music is capable of. But how did you think about the term important when you were putting your list of albums together?
I thought that I chose those albums because they were important, because there was some kind of epiphanies for me, musical epiphanies for me. So each of these albums show me different approach on the music, and in the certain point in my life it was something like a kind of breakthrough in thinking about music. So each is really different and shows different aspect of music.
Well, I'll let you pick which one you want to talk about first, but if you'd like to introduce what the album is and then also tell me a little bit about why it's important as well.
First one is, it's hard to say, Xerox by Alvanotto.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was one of the most beautiful use of noise that I ever heard, and it has a lot of, I think, simple compositions with not so many melodies, but it has a really big beauty in sound. It uses noise to create some beautiful stains and some atmospheres. So this album changed my way of thinking about noise and using noise in music, because noise, you always I was thinking about noise like something that is really harsh and unpleasant, and in this album it's just beauty. And I think it was one of the most important live shows which I was being when I was being. So it's I still love this album and I still listen to it, and when I really need something soothing and something that would calm me down, it's this one.
Do you remember when you first heard it?
I think during my high studies. It would be, I don't know, 7 years ago or more. I think, yes, it was some time ago, but I still adore it. And it was the time when I was exploring a lot of electronic music, and as I said before, it was a kind of breakthrough. Something really experimental can be really beautiful.
What I really like about this release, I'd forgotten about, I think I'd read originally, but a text that comes with it that talks about the fact that there's a lot of talk about copying the original and then copying the copy until just the copy is left, and just that estranged shape, which no longer resembles an entity, but resembles just stands for a process, which is such a lovely idea.
Yeah, and of course, a second thing that claimed my attention was the visual side of this release. That because the music is really with a lot of layers and with a lot of details, and the visual side is so clear, and I don't know, it's made this music even more noble for me. So like this connecting clearness with distortion or noise. So
did it have a direct imprint on the way that you utilize, say, processing or noise within your own music?
Yes, it has. It showed me that noise can generate something nice, that you can not only have some strong moments in music using noise, but also beautiful moments and subtle and sophisticated using some glitches or distortion. So that you can use elements not properly and do something new.
I understand that there's like advertising jingles used in this album, and I think like elevator music and stuff like that.
Yes.
Yeah,
but you can just maybe hear some resemblance of this, but it just left some beautiful tones, and it's something that this Albanotto did is it still works. Like this album didn't get old.
What about the other albums in the series? Do you connect with them as well?
They are good too, but this first one was the most important. But you cannot compare always this first one with the second one, because you can have this big impression only for the first time. Even these two were good too. But the first one was the one that was heard first, and it was this breakthrough. I was expecting something good after this second and third, and I did get it, but it wasn't it. So
yeah,
you can do it just once. I thought that there will be another Xerox, but no.
Is that the end of the Xerox albums?
I don't know. I think I should read about it. I don't know, but first one was so strong, is so strong that I think there is no need to make another version of that. Another part.
I can't remember if you said. Did you say that you saw him perform this live?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, it was. I think it was the first concert that I was lying on the ground and closing my eyes, and it created so many spaces. And I know. I think I like in this kind of music that it creates a space for thinking. That like it makes it changes the space, and it can make you, I don't know, that it fills you, but there is still place for something else, and it can. I've lost the word. Yeah, talking about emotions and feelings. So, But I still remember this concert, and even it was so long ago.
Wow. Yeah, I totally see what you're saying. It feels like music in which there's space for you to inhabit rather than confront, you know?
Exactly.
And what about his more beat-driven music? I mean, I think I came into his work through the Xerox series myself, and then later found the, Universe and Unitext T and albums like that, and I was like, I can't believe this is the same guy. But what do you make of those albums? Are they albums that you enjoy as well?
I think they have a different function, and I heard of one of this more technical album live as well, but it requires different attentions. It's like music to move to, like in the club. So it works well, but it is something different, and those albums are not something that I am remembering and listening often to. So I think it's something different.
Yeah, it sounds like it's as much a device to keep Carsten Nicolai in balance than for anyone else.
Yes. Healthy balance. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I did an interview with him actually after he released Universe, and I only revisited that today actually, but he said I need to step back from the noise, and maybe I'll go back to the Xerox series. So it's like, okay, I've had enough of the loud, I just need space now, Yeah,
but I can understand this searching for balance with this technical and rhythmical stuff and this more soft and ambient, let's say, music. Like you don't want to just to make one kind of music, because there are so many possibilities and there are so many emotions, and why to stay in the one place where you can try different stuff and try to make some different situations.
Is that what releasing a double album allowed you to do?
For example, yeah. About this double album, yeah, it was like walking into two different directions in one time. So it was a trial to do something like this.
In what way?
In what way? I didn't want to be perceived as a person who is just rhythmical and making a club music, because using rhythm doesn't oblige you, doesn't have to be doesn't have to keep you as a club artist. So I wanted to avoid that, because it's not something that I want to tell with my music.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah, doing double and different albums. Yeah. So that's the reason.
If you'd like to introduce your second album and tell me a bit about why it's important to you as well.
Okay, so next is Autechre, second band that I don't know how to spell. Yeah. Because I think they even said they don't care about how people are spelling this name. And I had a problem with choosing one of the albums of them, because, for example, there is this triad for me, in Kunabula, Amber and Triepete. Yeah. It was hard to me to choose, because I treat them like just another epiphany in music, another discovery in music for me. So let's say 3 repete to be strict. This album is really important to me because of rhythm, and it showed me that really complex rhythms can keep you flowing, can be still bouncing is it's a bad way, but this music flows, and it has a really complex rhythm, but it's not really hard in when you are listening to it. It doesn't make you tired. So it has some clearness and roughness in the same time. And listening to, I don't know, something in this music is really empowering, that it gives you a lot of energy and confidence when you. For me, it's music that I want to hear when I want to conquer the world. I don't know, when I want to freshen my mind, to stay clear and sober during the day.
Wow.
Something that,
That's really interesting, I think. I mean, it's interesting you say that the complexity of the rhythm, that it doesn't make you tired, because I feel exhausted listening to any of their albums they release nowadays.
But no, when you say about the newest releases, I can agree, because they are really mind consuming. I don't know, they're really hard to listen to, because they are so complex and so different in every second. So, and even if each track is really hard, they are making really long albums. I don't know, last year was this 4-hour album?
Oh yeah, it's like 5 parts.
Yeah, I think we tried to listen to it in our office, and we divided into a few days, but still we had trouble with that. But still, when we tried to listen to that in the office, okay, it was hard, but last year I also was in this live show of the Autechre, and it was brilliant, and it was something really massive, and something that you cannot listen in the office and while you are working, because you cannot focus on anything.
No.
But we are staying in the darkness and just listening to that music. It is something, I don't know, it's hard to describe it. It's something wonderful. It's something that, like I said before with the Xerox, that this music creates space to thinking. This is something totally opposite. It fills you, totally fills you, and there is no place for anything else. It's just music, and you are this music. You are just in it, and it's all that you are. Listening to that music is all that you are in the moment. So so that's fantastic too. And for me, it was also one of the most important concerts, but from the last few years. So I think they are some kind of magicians. So these two guys.
I think I probably saw them playing the same kind of set that you did. If it was last year, was it kind of the second half of last year?
Probably yes.
Yeah, and it's like just an hour long. I mean, they all are, aren't they? I guess recently, but just like an hour long piece.
Mm-hmm. It was really long and in the darkness, so there is no light and just really loud and complex music. So
I felt like I had to duck at some points because there's something very three-dimensional about what they're doing now, and a lot of impact, which feels quite not violent, but
it's really
catastrophic.
intense.
Yeah. I'm intrigued to what you think of, like, whether the direction they've taken over the years, has it made you think differently about their early material, particularly the 3 albums that you've highlighted as being particularly important from the early days?
They in what they are doing, I think these 3 albums that I picked are more pop.
Yeah.
It's funny, but they are more, I don't know, you can listen to them in loop, and there is something nice in them. There are so many melodies, some tones, so some spaces, and now they're gotten brutal and non-compromissive, I guess.
Yeah.
But so I think I like what they are doing live, but to listen during the day, I like the albums that they made earlier. Yeah, they are more soft, I think.
I think it's interesting to hear the tiny little glimmers of what they would be doing later just start to rise up through those albums, particularly with Try Repeat. You can hear a lot of the textures that they're going to be using later, but they're a bit more disciplined with them. Yes,
so like they were shy at the beginning and got more confident later and said or maybe they were preparing audience to something that will come.
Yeah, it's funny actually because it feels almost like the Xerox record, which is all about something being a copy of a copy. It felt like Autechre became self-referential to the infinity, to the point where they were just chewing themselves up.
Yes, but I think in the opposite way, like their each another album is more like the essence, the essence of the brutality. Like it's getting rid of something not irrelevant, just something that doesn't have to be there, something unnecessary. Like they are just keeping this essence.
Yeah. No, that's really interesting because it felt like they were a bit more in dialogue with what other people were doing back then. I mean, they did that EP, which was a protest against the attempt to basically illegalize raves, where it felt like that they were still on planet Earth and still aware of what was happening, and now it's like
they're on Planet Autechre.
Yeah. Who knows where that is?
Yeah, who knows? But still, it's an interesting place.
Yeah.
That you want to hear and you want to, I don't know, watch for a moment.
Yeah.
And try to understand.
Yes. That part never goes well for me, but
me too, but trials are good too.
Yes. Yeah. I think that's why I connect with the duration of their work nowadays. I think I really love long works because it's daunting. I like the feeling that you've been listening for 2 hours and you're like, oh no, I've got like 3 hours left. And you can feel quite stranded in that. And that in itself is quite a unique sensation with music. You can only really get that by, I guess, having just an incredibly long duration.
Yeah, and it's so unmodern, I would say, because right now everything is so short because our our brains are constantly unfocused, so distracted, and getting focused and being in something in more than 40 minutes, it's hard. But still it's possible to be in something, as you said, in long listening.
Yeah.
And it's something nice too.
I mean, it's interesting, like you say, it's something that seems to be a product of the culture. But then what's also interesting is the fact that with your new label, you're using shorter durations in the name of a more dedicated experience. So do you think at any point you'll go to the other end of the spectrum as well and play...
To make a really, really long album?
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe. It's nice because, I don't know what will happen in the future.
Yeah, that's true.
Because maybe there will be something that will long timing will be would make a sense. So who knows?
Yeah, I guess it's not like you can get to the end of a finished work and go, okay, I'll just double this and then I'll have my long album.
I think I heard one artist who made some material for a kind of festival. He made 40 minutes, and he was asked to make it 60 minutes because it's too short for the festival, I think, and he got angry and just took all his material and slowed it down. I of course won't say which artist was it, but I think it's funny, really.
Yeah.
That you want it longer, so okay.
Yeah.
We can make time pass slower.
Wow. Yeah. It's quite self-destructive, that as well, isn't it? It's like, okay, I'm going to make it so I don't even enjoy this.
It can be ugly.
Yeah.
Then, and you can ruin all the composition, but you have what you wanted to.
Yeah.
so you want, you have.
Yeah.
Take it.
If we could have your final album, Alexandra, that would be great.
Yeah, and the final album is La Barca by Thomas Connor. It's funny because this album is, in one way, it wasn't epiphany for me, and it wasn't a discovery, but it always surprises me that, for example, this year, of course, Spotify's resumes at the end of the year show me that it was the album I was listening the most. And it's funny because I think the last years it would be the same album all the time, because it's really long album, and it's album that I am listening all the time, maybe not always, but very, very often when I am traveling. It is made by field recordings and some tones, melodies. It's really atmospheric, and it's really long, and it's really, how to say, it's not a big album. It's not something that crushes your mind and makes you say wow, but it's something that changes the way you perceive what you are seeing. So yeah, it changes the way you are seeing the world while you are listening to that album. So for me, it's something that I'm really, really interested in music. Like the music that you are hearing can change the way you are thinking about the world. So
is that in particular reference to your experiences when you are traveling?
Yes, even when I am traveling and the way is really long, I just realize that very often I'm just listening to this album. I think it's longer than an hour, and when it ends, I'm starting it again and again. So even if it's long, it doesn't bore me. I think it's the hardest album to speak about because it's really subtle and intimate.
It's strange for a Thomas Kohner record, I think. It feels really intimate.
Yeah, and as for the Thomas Kohner, it's really baroque. Because it has a lot of sounds, and it's not a drone full of drones, but it's more like a lot of recordings, a lot of spaces, a lot of talks, a lot of people. There are a lot of people and a lot of places in this album.
Yeah, it's strange. I think what strikes me is the sense of, I don't know, there's something social about this album.
Yeah, it is. It's like a lot of meetings, lot of. I think it's like a travel. I don't know, when I heard this title and how this album changes, for me it's like a travel, or it's like an arc, for example, like it's a gathering of so many sounds like in one place, like something you don't want to remember, you want to remember.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely feels like a diary for him. I mean, I read something really interesting actually from an interview that he did, and he spoke about this record and said that a lot of his works, I think he did one relatively recently about the Arctic, but with a lot of those kind of works which are about fixed spaces, the listener is expanding into those spaces, whereas on La Barca the listener is experiencing a verticality, he said, like a standstill, while the space moves through you as a listener, rather than the other way around. And that completely changed the way that I listened to this record, knowing that or thinking that movement was taking place, I thought was really interesting.
Yeah, I can hear this movement in this album. I think it's why I am listening often during traveling, when you are sitting, when you are in the one place, for example in a train for a few hours, but in the same moment you are in the really different places and you are moving, so it's really a strange situation.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, because you are static and dynamic in the same time.
Yeah, and also you're overlaying his travel diary onto your actual real-world experiences, which is kind of crazy as well.
Yeah, and it changes my travel a bit, like into his. Like I'm stealing his travel.
Yeah, because that's the thing. I guess you could be traveling through one country and these tracks are, in the version that I've been playing, the actual place names are listed, but I know in some it's just coordinates. But you could be in, I don't know, America and be listening to the sounds of Amsterdam. It's a strange kind of overlay that you can play with there.
Yeah, you could make for example, the same travel, with and make different recordings on the same places.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Have you seen Thomas perform live at all?
Yes. I think it's 2 years ago, but it's sad to say, but it was cold then, and I couldn't focus on music, and it was really static music then. It was drones, and it's something that I would expect from him,
right?
But it's kind of usual Thomas Connor for me,
right?
But when I'm listening to this album La Barca, that it's something different.
Yeah, this was definitely really took me by surprise. I've heard quite a few of his records and hadn't heard this one, but felt like I knew what I was going to expect, and then was really really taken aback.
Yeah, but it's different. Yeah, and as I said before, it's funny for me that it's not a big album. It's not something I don't know, some kind of breakthrough, but it just stays with you.
I mean, it sounded like to begin with he wasn't going to release it, and then people were like, "Come on, you've got to put this out." But yeah, I mean, I guess that's where the intimacy comes from, in that he never really intended it to be heard beyond his own ears. But yeah, I thought that was interesting as well, the fact that it's almost an accident that it's out in the world, and probably wasn't composed with that lens, of like, oh, lots of people are going to hear this, which is, again, I wonder how that shaped the work.
Yeah, but you can hear this intimacy of this record. It's
yeah.
So it's like it's really small and nice. even it's long.
Well, this has been great. I mean, thank you so much for coming on, Alexandra, and sharing your 3 albums with me. It's been wonderful.
Oh, thank you very much. It was nice to talk with you.
If people want to find out about your music or the upcoming label as well, where should they be headed on the internet?
Oh, in January, probably our website, refined.productions, and SoundCloud, and just social medias and so on. I think it will be on all streaming services, and there will be some physical copies of the music too. So it's too big to say it will be everywhere. But if someone will be interested, yeah, it's not hidden.
That's good to know. Google and you will find.
Yeah.
So thank you once again, and to everyone listening, I will see you next time.